Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. We are once again back at the beautiful Drama Bookshop located on West 39th Street. And my guest is a renowned actor and singer-songwriter, and he is known to millions of worldwide fans for the role of Patrick on the hit TV series Schitt's Creek. Well, now he is on Broadway making his Broadway debut, giving one of the finest performances of the season as Mr. Peel in Tracy Letts' new play, The Minutes. Please welcome Noah Reid. I am thrilled to be sitting with you here at the Drama Bookshop.
Yeah, well, great to be sitting here with you. I've never been in this place before. It's a stunning, stunning place.
Well, it's brand new, and we are sitting in the Writer's Corner, Hamilton-inspired.
Love
with
it.
these chairs. It's
I love
also
it.
very Gilded Age and Downton Abbey, I think.
That's right.
Then we got some French stuff going on behind us here, right?
It's an eclectic mix of things.
Yeah, but supposedly everybody sits here and writes.
Well, we should get out our pens and typewriters.
should,
and
at least.
I'm not much of a writer, but I spend time with some good ones.
No,
so that's.
but you could songwrite here too. That's what you could do.
I could. I'd like to wall it in if I want to do that. A little privacy. You know?
Totally. Well, I want it first of all. Welcome to Broadway.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
Oh, it's a lot of feelings all at once, but this has been a lifelong dream for me. I came to New York first when I was probably 8 years old. I was doing the Toronto production of Beauty and the Beast, and we came down here for our fittings and stuff, and that was my introduction to this city and to Broadway, and I never wanted to do anything else since then. So this is the culmination of a lot of years plugging away, and honestly couldn't have picked a better project to make an entry to Broadway with.
Yeah, because you are giving one of the finest performances of the season as Mr. Peel in The Minutes. You know, it's also your Broadway debut.
It is.
And I was with you all on opening night.
Yeah.
I mean, can you put it all into perspective now? Like, how magical was opening night for you?
It was a very emotional night. I mean, that Broadway opening night house was such an incredible feeling, and the audience is leaning in a way that you kind of through previews you're building up to that moment. Of course, you're building up to what feels like it's a culmination, and really it's just the beginning of the journey. But incredible to be out there with that group of actors, and having a couple of weeks of previews under our belts, and just knowing that story, that script is underneath us and would carry us all the way. And yeah, it was a pretty fantastic moment.
Because I know you've been offered Broadway before, and you didn't come here. So when you got the script to The Minutes, after you read it, what made you say, yes, I want to do this?
Well, I think to me it's the story, it's the writing, it's Tracy's incredible gift of writing these. I mean, the track record speaks for itself, and this play particularly in this time, it just felt like it was such an important thing to get to be a part of. I couldn't really believe that I was being asked to come and be a part of it, and I think it's rare now too to have such an ensemble piece that really feels like everyone's pushing their chips into the middle, and every piece of it relies on the piece that has come before, and the structure of that. It's outrageously funny, and also such a biting commentary on the world that we live in and the times that we're living in. And it was very exciting. When you read a script like that, it kind of takes your breath away, and I was just pumped to think about the potential of being Mr. Peel.
Because that's Steppenwolf. I mean, it's the kind of plays they do. Of course, Tracy's from there, and of course, your incredible director, Anna DiShapiro. What was it like being in the room with Anna?
Well, she's a rock star, and she's just a brilliant human being, and a terrific, consummate leader and collaborator. Just razor sharp, hysterically funny, deeply human, empathetic. She and Tracy clearly have a relationship. They have a bit of a mind meld together that they just understand each other and the intent of what they want to put out into the world, and they really trust each other too, which I think is a really key element of that rehearsal hall. And when she would be like, oh, I think we need to tweak this, and he's like, well, you're the boss. I mean, I think that's a pretty amazing thing to get to witness. And also they have a wonderful rapport with each other, just kind of fencing with each other a little bit here and there, which is always great to have a front row seat too. And Jan Barford, who is Anna's husband, plays Mr. Karp in the show, and so that's they've all known, all these people work together on this show before, and that you could feel that connectivity. Of course, for me, you know, I'm brand new to that world, and so is Mr. Peel, so that feels right. But you know, a terrific group and terrific leadership on this play, and everyone has made me feel really right at home.
Oh yeah, because I love to ask actors, like, what was that first table read like?
Oh,
Because
God.
they're so exciting. What was it for you?
It was. I mean, I was terribly nervous, of
Yeah.
course.
Well,
You're
the
it's
new kid on the block.
Exactly. It's a new experience,
Yeah.
but also it was the first time that I heard the play out loud, and you know, was introduced to all of these people and their characters, and hearing it for the first time, I really feel like I had a sense of the story and the musicality of it, and how it would sort of propel towards its wild conclusion. So yeah, I mean, it's a terrifying moment, but also a beautiful moment. You know, everyone made a point of really welcoming me in, and I think I said something like, you know, trying to keep it short, but was like, sorry, thank you for having me, and I'll try to be good. You know, and then off you go. It's really, you know, it doesn't wait around to begin. The train's leaving the station.
Train's leaving the station, and you're on it.
Yeah, you better get ready to go.
Yeah. What do you love the most about Mr. Peel?
Well, I think he has a really strong compass of you know, what is right and what is good, and he really wants to make a positive contribution to the world around him. I think that, you know, a lot of us have that feeling, and sometimes we don't know how to execute that. And Mr. Peel is clearly somebody who has decided to, you know, run for this position and get elected and try on a weekly basis to push things in the right direction in the town of Big Cherry. And you know, I wish I were a little more like that myself. I think that spirit of making a contribution, and that contribution coming from the right place, not coming from an egotistical place. Of course, you know, it's a difficult thing to continually execute, especially when you come up against some of these, the contradictions, you know, the human contradictions that exist within all of us, and they certainly exist within him. And but yeah, I love that he wants to create. He wants to be a good example. I think he's learned that from his leadership system, and he wants to provide that for his young child and for the society and for the town. And I think that's admirable.
Okay, just living in the world of Tracy Letts. Because, I mean, the play thinks it's one thing, and then it becomes something totally different.
Yeah.
And you all do, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has a knack with this kind of this balancing act between humor and danger, and you know, this cast excellently explores that line.
Yeah.
And I think having him on stage too, and sort of, you know, guiding us through that play as the mayor. He's such a terrific performer, and such a clear thought process. Obviously, he knows the play, you know, very well, intimately. But yeah, it's a very cool experience to get to deliver this story with him on stage as well.
That must be the coolest thing. Like, not only is he the playwright, but he's also your co-star.
He's the boss, man.
Yeah.
He's the boss.
I want to go back to the beginning for a second. Growing up, where did your love for the theater begin?
Well, I mean, my family are all they're all visual artists, but the theater has been a huge part of you know, of their world. I think particularly for my dad, who, well, my mom was an actor in her young life, I think, in her school days, and had that kind of the desire to perform. And my dad probably, you know, I think he talks about a production of My Fair Lady that he saw in London, Ontario as a kid that really drew him in. And I think those moments where the theater reaches out and pulls somebody in, you know, they can be very powerful. So my sister and I had the benefit of going to a lot of theater in Toronto, and Toronto has a brilliant theater scene, and it has certainly helped me get here in a lot of different ways. But you know, seeing some of the, we have a Shakespeare in the Park in High Park that I remember going to as a 5 or 6 year old and seeing Midsummer Night's Dream, and just having a blast at bottom turning into an ass, and the whole thing. I mean, it's just that the magic of the theater really, really drew me in and activated some element of my imagination that as I got older, I knew I wanted to be a part of it, if at all possible. I had that performative instinct, probably more purely when I was a child than I do even now, but it's an incredible thing to get to grow with, and I always have loved seeing shows and talking about them for hours afterwards, and who saw what, who experienced what differently, and I think some of the greatest writing, some of the writing that puts human beings directly in the crosshairs of what it is to be alive and what it is to be human, and how do we make decisions, and what ramifications do those decisions have. That's the thrill of the theater for me, and the audience is implicit in that, and the reader is too if you're reading scripts. And it's I don't know, it's an ancient art form, and it's survived for a reason.
So growing up, you went to, is it Etobicoke School of the Arts?
Yeah.
Were you there at an early age?
I was there probably grade 9. I was probably 14 when I started there, and
that was life-changing for you, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, having an opportunity to be a part of it's a public school, but it's a specialized, you have to audition to get in. I understand they're trying to remove the audition process and kind of randomize that, which I think is really awful, because I think that people learn differently, and if you're somebody who is different, I mean, going to that school, to me, being different was a strength. It was not something to be covered over. It was an opportunity to explore another avenue that could turn. I mean, and for a lot of graduates of that school, it does turn into a career in the arts. And I don't know. It was a terrific place to be a young person and to explore. I can't say I was thoroughly well behaved, but I did get to. I played John Proctor when I was 17. That kind of thing. That has really, I think, solidified a foundation of the theater and the arts within my life, and I've benefited greatly from that.
Yeah, but you started out as Chip in Beauty and the Beast in Toronto, right?
Yeah, when I was 8 years old. Yeah.
How did you get cast?
Well, I great question. I was 6 when I did a community theater production of Oliver. I played Oliver at the Music Theater at Etobicoke, and I really wanted to continue to do this. My parents were like, "Oh God, okay, well, sure, if this is important to you." And there was an open casting call for Beauty and the Beast, and I might have had an agent at that time, but I went in for it, and just. I remember driving to the audition, actually. My mom was trying to describe to me that a lot of people were going to be auditioning for this, and she didn't want me to get, too attached to it, get my hopes up. And I said something to her like, well, somebody's got to get it.
It might as well be me.
Might as well be me. Why wouldn't it be?
And how old were you?
I was 8 years old at that time. Yeah.
Well, you had that bug.
I did. I don't know. I think you have. I wish I could approach my life now with that much confidence. It's harder as you get older to think it might as well be me. But
was it a big audition process? Were there a lot of people there?
Yeah, I think there were. But I mean, it's when you get in the room, it's just you have to approach it. I think about that sometimes. I go, okay, well, if I'm in an audition, I got to be having as much fun as I had at that time of my life. It's not this nerve-wracking experience. It's an opportunity. You got to go in there and, show them what you got and enjoy yourself.
Because we have a lot of actors from around the world that watch this, and auditioning is a really strange thing.
Oh, God,
some people love to do it. They really do.
Yeah.
And some people are terrified at it, and they're like Oscar and Tony winners. So I'm like, were you always good at it, or?
No, I think I'm somewhere in the middle there. But I started to... when I was in my early 20s and things weren't going the way that I had wanted them to go, I was like, okay, I need to reframe this for myself, because it's not, whatever I'm doing isn't working. Yeah. And I started to think that an audition was not so much me asking for a part. It was that whoever was casting this part had a need as well. They needed to fill this part. And so what I was doing was offering a possibility. I could go in and say, hey, you guys need someone to fill this role. I can do it if you want. This is kind of how it would be. All the best. You know, that's what you can do. The need for it sometimes, you know, can get in the way of enjoying it as much. And even a conversation I had with Anna DiShapiro before we opened this show, she said, you know, just start at the beginning and have fun. And I think that's got to be an element of it. You have to enjoy it, or what's the point?
I love that, because a lot of people, like I said, who worked as kids, they were like, it seemed so much easier. Like, it was like, I'm just going to go in and get a role.
Yeah.
And then you put all the stuff in your head as you get older.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it's not, I mean, it's not a job when you're a kid. It's just something that you get to do, you know?
But you were Chip.
I was, but I had no sense of what the business of that meant. I just knew that I got to hang out with all these brilliant performers and be around the magic of the show and the costumes and the energy, and I just, you know, I never wanted to do anything else. And, you know, when you get a little bit older and you get a couple of, you know, kicks in the shin, you go, okay, well, maybe this business isn't for me, or maybe it's not going to happen the way that I would want it to happen. And it doesn't for a lot of people. I know a lot of brilliant performers who, you know, are finding other things to do with their life, and it kills me, because I'm like, man, the world needs to see these people. Yeah. But I think the arts don't just exist also in the big spaces. They exist everywhere throughout, you know, the many pockets of your life, and there's lots of opportunity for creativity to find its way into the cracks of life too. And so it's never, I don't believe that you know, any kind of arts training or artistic or creative endeavor is ever too small or is ever a waste of time. I just think it's integral to being alive.
You've also done a lot of voiceover work through your entire career, but you started, how old were you when you did Franklin?
I think I started when I was 9. That would have been just after Beauty and the Beast, and yeah, what a blast. That was a very cool...
How much fun was it doing that, and just doing voiceover work in general?
It was great. It really felt like it kind of... it used a lot of the theater work that I had been kind of learning how to do, and also added this kind of purely vocal thing that you just had to know how to, like, throw your voice or you know, channel it into the microphone. I loved doing it because I would miss a day of school and go in and see my friends who were playing the other woodland creatures, and we'd all, you know, hang out and do the show and have lunch, and, you know, it felt like we were part of some little, like, club or something. It was a blast. And
you've done that throughout your career, voicing people?
Yeah, more so when I was a kid. I think I sort of stopped for whatever reason. It just hasn't been a thing that I've kept up as much. But recently did an audio book, which was an incredible experience, and it felt very much, you know, I spend a lot of time in a studio playing music now, and that's sort of where I spend my studio time. But doing that, I was like, oh right, this feels very much part of my world as a kid, going into studios and spending this time reading this material with these, you know, voicing characters and finding the subtleties that a microphone avails you, and you know, it's very fun.
Well, you've done a lot of theater throughout your career, doing the classics and contemporaries, like, you know, John Logan's Red, and so many wonderful plays.
Yeah.
But you got to play Hamlet.
Yeah.
Okay, challenging? I mean, what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, it was very wild. I mean, it was a strange and I think quite a beautiful production of it, where the actors were all also musicians, and we were creating basically a live score throughout the show, and text was spoken into handheld microphones. It was kind of like a Soviet rock concert or something. It was very strange, and a lot of people would say that the microphone allowed them to hear the text in a way that you wouldn't normally hear a Shakespeare text. Yeah. Made it very immediate, very kind of coming in on you a little bit, and it allowed for us not to sort of like send it. It could be quite close. I think to be or not to be was the only thing that was not spoken into a microphone, and I mean, what a part. I hope to get to revisit it at some point, because I don't think you ever probably feel like you got all of it. Yeah. But incredible thing to get to work on and dive into. I mean, it's such I feel like you could spend years. People have spent decades on that part and on that story, and yeah, very, very cool to get to do that.
No, because a lot of actors who I speak to, they're like, these stars will be like, oh my God, I tackled that when I was this age. I'd like to do it again because I have this, this many more years of experience. I'd like to tackle that role again. It's like with Shakespeare, like I want to keep going back to it.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Austin Pendleton about it, and he was like, well, I'd like to do it again. He's 82, so I mean, who knows? You can keep on playing it.
He must be so incredible. I mean, your whole entire company that you get to share that stage with. But I'm just sitting there watching Austin Pendleton. I'm like, he's genius, as they all are.
He is truly remarkable. I spend a good chunk of the show watching him and Blair Brown on that side of the stage, and just kind of. Sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm doing the play because I just want to watch them.
You've also done so many incredible films. I was turned on to one of your films, I think in 2012, Old Stock.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorite comedies. That's when I first was aware of you.
No way.
How much fun was it doing that film?
Oh, it was a blast. It was a low budget film that we shot in Toronto, and that was a great experience. A strange little story of a young man living in an old folks home because he didn't want to engage with. He'd accidentally been he'd been a part of an auto accident that had affected a friend of his quite significantly, and trying to work his way through it. It was offbeat comedy, brilliant script by Dane Clark and directed by James Genn. I had a great time on that.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun in that. You're also known to millions of fans around the world, of course, playing Patrick on the hit TV series Schitt's Creek. There are Schitt's Creek books here. I mean, everybody.
Oh my God! Yeah, right.
It's wild, but I mean, like, everybody you talk to. I mean, how life-changing was that role in that show?
Yeah, it's definitely has. It's the reason that I'm here. An incredible group of people, obviously, to get to work with, and to be a part of that story too. And that I think that show really. A lot of people will say, helped people through a difficult time during the pandemic, and I think, in general, its approach to the balance of humor and heart really connected with people, and it's amazing. We haven't been shooting that show for many years, and people are still. Coming up to us on the street and letting us know how meaningful it was. A lot of people are coming to the Minutes who have, seen the show. And I think I'll continue to look back on that experience throughout my life and understand just how meaningful it was.
Okay, season 4, doing your acoustic version of Tina Turner's Simply the Best. Not only did it go viral, it was on all the iTunes charts.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you got to that table read, did it say Noah is going to sing or Patrick is going to sing?
Oh yeah. Dan had said, I had just read the script for the first time before the table read, and I went up to Dan and said, "You're going to make me sing, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, and that song is actually it's very important to me, so don't fuck it up." I said, "Okay, thanks, Dan." So I tried not to. Yeah. But an amazing opportunity that he gave me there, and the license I think to run with that and arrange it myself and made it feel very personal, I think, and I wanted it to be something that felt like it could be from Patrick and not from me, that it felt like it had to be in character and something that he could pull off, but it also had to be really good because it had to represent this moment of effectively a gift, and a proclamation of love and understanding. I remember Catherine on the day just, struggling to keep it together and, turning around and wiping the tears out of her eyes. I was like, I think this is working.
They are like the biggest ego-free cast. I mean, everybody who works on that show. Yeah,
I mean that's from the top down. From Eugene and Catherine, just the generosity and the brilliance of those two are, if they're showing up and getting it done at that level, it really raises everybody's buy-in level. And I honestly, I mean, the two of them. It's obviously a very storied career, and those two together in that story as those characters, just incredible to get to see up close.
I want to talk about your music. You have 3 great albums. I told you I have to turn on to a lot of your music. The first album is called Songs from a Broken Chair.
Yeah.
The second one called Gemini.
Yeah.
And the third one, which I believe is coming out in June.
That's right.
Adjustments.
Adjustments.
And you have just dropped a brand new song from that album called
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
That's right.
What can you tell us?
Minneapolis was we were doing actually the Schitt's Creek live up close and personal show, and one of our stops was in Minneapolis, and it was such there was just a strange day where everybody was off doing something else. I was kind of left to my own devices and just sort of walking around a city I'd never been to in the middle of the winter, and dealing with the shifts that were happening in my life. This was my first tour ever. It was very strange to all of a sudden be walking onto a stage and having people, not just know who you are, but like, ravenously applauding you when you walked out. That was a major adjustment. So I feel like the album, deals with a lot of, whether it's pandemic related or personally related, that the songs that are on that record sort of span this time period for me where there are a lot of shifts and changes in my personal and professional world, and getting married, and
because a lot of great things happened
a lot
during the pandemic.
happened during the pandemic.
You got married during the pandemic.
I did. And then there was like the whole Schitt's Creek at the Emmys was during the pandemic, and there were just lots of things, and that show coming to an end, and what was going to happen next, that kind of unknown quality, and thankfully I've landed in some fun projects, but you kind of don't really know where you're going to go after something like that. So, it's a fun period of time, and I don't know, it resulted in some I think some really fun songs, and had a great time making that record. I think it's my favorite of the 3.
Yeah, it's on all streaming.
Yep, that's right.
Great.
Yeah,
All right, so you met your wife. You were both guesting on a cop show, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Called Rookie.
Well, you've done your research. Rookie Blue.
Rookie Blue. Okay, but were you both guest starring on the show? That one episode?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We often talk about how we could have easily missed each other. She was just, getting out of the acting
The
world,
business,
and
right?
making a shift into the world of healthcare, and we spent, I think, maybe one day on set together.
That's
and
crazy.
We kept up for a number of years, and eventually we thought, maybe we should do this. So
Was there something that day, like when you were working, or it's so fast on these things?
It's very quick, but we just really got along.
Yeah.
We just really got along, and you have that feeling when you just want to spend more time around somebody, and thankfully we were able to explore that.
And you're about to become a dad.
Yeah, another couple of months here.
This is what a wild year.
It's a little much, isn't it?
No, I think so well deserved. I love to watch it. Great things happen to nice people.
Oh God!
But it must be so great, though.
It is
You're in a
very,
hit show,
very
you have a
exciting.
New album.
Yeah.
You got married. Now you're having a baby.
I think after that, I'd like to just chill out for a minute.
Yeah, totally.
It'd be fun.
But you're going to go on tour with your album.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how that works.
Cut short due to the pandemic.
Yeah, we got.
You were in Ireland?
I was in Chicago, and we had, I think we got probably eight shows into a 25-show tour, and shut down. So we'll get back out there when it feels like it's. I really didn't want to get back on tour before I knew that we would be
like fully
good to
going
go
on tour. Yeah.
I know a lot of musical artists have gotten back out there, and there's been a lot of sort of starts and stops, and thankfully for me, it's like I get to play music. It's not my number one job, so I get to do these other cool projects and fit the music in where I can. But I would love to be out there playing some more shows. It's a pretty incredible experience to have a room full of people listening to your music. You know?
Did you write at an early age?
Yeah, I think I started writing music when I was probably like 8 or 9, but not writing songs necessarily until I was at the National Theatre School of Canada, actually, and started writing songs from character perspective, almost as a way to explore a character's world, and eventually thought, well, what if the character's me? And write some of my own experiences and thoughts. And it's a great thing to keeps me balanced, I think, a little bit, getting to reflect on my own experience and write something. I imagine this is what Tracy feels like on stage. He's like, I wrote this, Hopefully, actually, he's not doing that. That would be a strange...
I don't think he's doing that. Would you like to do a musical?
I don't know. I mean, I think musical performers have about 100 times more talent than I do, and certainly more discipline. I think I would be stretched very thin in a musical.
Oh, I don't think so. You're
Well,
really
we'll
good.
see. Oh, thank you, man.
Is there like a classic musical as we're sitting? So we're also not only in the Hamilton end, we're sitting in front. This is like vocal scores of every Broadway.
You know what? I'll
musical.
get back to you. Let me pour over that shelf there and see if there's
is there a
anything.
musical that like you were besides Chip in Beauty and the Beast? But is there a musical that you love, like that you got on your playlist?
God, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in the world of musicals, which probably leads to my trepidation. But I feel like it would be really easy for myself to expose myself as a subpar.
No, or it would open the door. You'd be like, oh my gosh, now I'll do a musical. It's like it's step into as a lot of people have.
Well, spend some time with that shelf there and see what pops
We'll
out.
visit that shelf before we leave this interview. Okay, your new series is amazing. It just kicked off on Amazon, Outer Range.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin. Your mom is being played by Deirdre O'Connell.
That's right.
Who is like one of the greatest New York actresses. Like,
No kidding.
Who do you play?
I play Billy Tillerson, who is Dee O'Connell and Will Patton's son. The youngest of three Tillerson boys, and dare I say the strangest of them. Billy sings. Billy experiences the world almost exclusively through song. He's
I see a musical.
but they kind of arrive to him like they're like prophetic visions, or like like a kind of a pool of spring water or something that just comes out of the earth. I mean, he's such an elemental character and enigmatic, and I think beautiful and dangerous, like the wilderness of Wyoming that he's living in. So incredible project, incredible cast. Lily Taylor, also Imogen Poots, Tom Pelfrey, Lewis Pullman, just a ridiculously cool cast. And my friend Tamara Podemsky, who did Rent here in New York many years ago, and I'm being blessed with some pretty stellar ensembles in my life, and grateful to be a part of them.
If you could sum up the best part of the experience, I know it's new with the Minutes, but I mean, it's been a dream of yours to come to Broadway. You're working in the most incredible play with the most incredible, talented group of ensemble actors. Like, what are you enjoying the most?
I think really just, beginning the play and not knowing quite how it's going to unfold throughout the show, and getting to stand in Mr. Peel's shoes and watch this kind of wild meeting take place, reminding myself to come at it fresh every night and relishing the opportunity. I mean, it's to when the lights come up and Tracy Letts is coming at you and you can feel the pulse and the hum of the audience. That's a really special feeling and something that I hope to get to do for many years to come.
Yeah. Are you an early arrival at the theater, or do you like to get there right at a half hour? Like,
no! I got to be there. I got to be there about an hour and a half beforehand, and
you're old school. That's
zone
great.
in a little bit. Yeah. Nice to be around the people too. I mean, COVID has reduced so many of the spaces that we get to be together, and so to get to the theater and see everybody before the show, have a cup of coffee, and get into the groove a little bit. It's nice.
Finally, because of your success on Schitt's Creek, many people may be coming to the theater for the very first time, like, I love Noah from this TV show.
Right.
I've never been to a show, and you're going to introduce them to this whole new medium. We all had those introductions from somebody.
Yeah.
What that means to you.
Oh, it's incredible. I think that obviously this is the center of the theatrical world, and I think what Tracy has created here is incredibly special, and so if this is an introduction to the theater, then it feels like a pretty good one, and I mean that's a special thing I hadn't really considered, but I know who those performers are for me, and some of those shows for me growing up in Toronto and going to Stratford and seeing shows at Canadian Stage, and all of these incredible experiences in my life that I look back on. I hope that this is a part of some foundational theater work in somebody else's life.
Okay, so we're walking out of the Hamilton area. Here we go. And this is, like I said, so this is musical scores and musical scripts of every Broadway musical.
Okay, all right.
The Sondheims are down here. The Sweeney
See
Todd's.
Spring Awakening. That's
Spring
pretty,
Awakening.
That's pretty great.
Funny Girl, Godspell, Cabaret. There's Disney over here.
What do you think if you were like, Noah, you
I
should
was
do
gonna
this musical? What would it be?
I think you should do How to Succeed.
Okay.
Which I think would be a great musical for you to do.
All right, great.
I think you'd also. Oh, you could
We'll
write
start
anything.
there.
You could be. Let's see. You could be a Tulsa in Gypsy. Oh, Hadestown. You could do Hadestown.
Oh, somebody was just telling me about this. Yeah.
Oh, I could see you do anything
Incredible
like
songs.
this.
This one, the Eugene Levy and
Oh yeah, they were all in
they
this
were
together.
all in this.
Okay.
Marty Short
and Andrea
Paul
Martin.
Schaefer was
And Paul Schaefer,
the musical director.
Yeah.
That's a pretty legendary Toronto.
So I could
thing.
see you maybe doing Godspell, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll do prepare the way of the
Prepare
Lord.
Thee or Day by Day. Just sing the whole score. You should do a show tune album next. But like I said, you could
This
do
one, have a
anything.
little bit of experience with this one here. Not.
Oh, did you do
not
Cabaret?
We did it in Schitt's Creek.
You did,
played
yeah.
The MC for one song. It was
Oh, so we
nice.
should bring him come back to Broadway in the revival.
That's
of
I don't know. I
Cabaret.
want to. Those are some large boots to fill,
I don't
especially at
know.
Studio 54. That's.
All right, let's see. Is Beauty and the Beast here? I just want to see.
Oh man.
Where is? Oh, I think they're out of it. They were saying, oh, but this is
They're from the film.
Okay,
Yeah.
because you did the show.
See, now I'm
version.
getting into my Beast years. It's
These are your Beast
moving out
years
of
now,
Chip
right?
into Beast time. Yeah.
You could actually do the Beast. You could grow into the Beast,
Well,
right?
who knows? Lumiere could be fun
Ooh,
too.
Lumiere
That's a
could be
lot
fun.
of lot of
But
hands
everybody
up
told
in
me
the
it's
air.
all the hands up. That
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
go to
yeah.
physical
Oh my
therapy
God,
like at the end of the
crazy.
week,
Yeah.
right? Joe, well, thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thank you very much. It's been really nice.
It's been really great. So
Yeah.
anybody out there, like I said, Noah's giving one of the finest performances of the season as Mr. Peel with his incredible cast in the Minutes. If you haven't gotten a ticket, go get one now and just see one of the finest things you'll see on Broadway. And we'll see you all at the theater. Take care.